आज थोड़ा छोटा सेशन हो सकता है. Mrs. Lerna's body had been taken to Hassania for the postmortem. मतलब लेडना की बॉडी रहते हसानिया ले गई थी पोस्टमार्टम के लिए. But otherwise, her room had been left exactly as it was. There was so little in it that it had not taken the police long to go over it. To the right of the door as you entered was the bed. Opposite the door were two barred windows giving on the countryside. उस डोर की जो थी विंडोज जो थी जो कि कंट्री साइड की तरफ जानी थी, दो विंडोज थी. Between them was a plain oak table with two drawers that served Mrs. Leidner's dressing table. On the east wall, a line of hooks with dresses hung up, protected by cotton bags and a deal chest of drawers. Immediately to the left of the door was a washstand. Left of the door के अंदर washstand था. ठीक है ना, मतलब ये था कि मामा देखो दो विंडोज थी और बीच में एक ओक टेबल थी जिसके अंदर दो ड्रॉर्स थी और जो कि मिसेस लाइडनर का ड्रेसिंग टेबल सर्व करती थी. ईस्ट वॉल में क्या था, एक लाइन ऑफ हुक्स था. ठीक है ना, और जिसमें कि ड्रेसेस जो थी हंगअप थी, प्रोटेक्टेड बाय कॉटन बैग्स. मतलब हंगअप वो लोग शायद कुछ कॉटन बैग से वो करते हैं क्योंकि धूल आती है. एंड अ डील चेस्ट ऑफ ड्रॉर्स. इमीडिएटली टू द लेफ्ट ऑफ द डोर वाज द वॉश स्टैंड. डोर की लेफ्ट में था वॉश स्टैंड. ये कैसे हुआ होगा? वॉश स्टैंड.
डोर की लेफ्ट से पापा का कमरा है ना.
हाँ. अच्छा हाँ, immediately to the left of that was the washstand. In the middle of the room was a good-sized plain oak table with blotter and inkstand and a small attache case. It was in the latter that Mrs. Leidner had kept the anonymous letters. The curtains were short strips of native material, white stripes with orange. The floor was of stone with some goatskin rugs on it, three narrow ones of brown stripes, white in front of the two windows and the washstand. A larger, better quality one with brown stripes lying between the bed and the writing table. Okay, fine, chalo. ये थोड़ा सा complex है. There were no cupboards or alcoves or long curtains, nowhere. In fact, where anyone could have hidden. The bed was a plain iron one with printed cotton quilt. Plain iron का bed था, cotton quilt थी उसमें, है ना. The only trace of luxury in the room were the three pillows, all made of the best soft and billowy down. Nobody but Mrs. Lydno had pillows like this. 3 pillows there. In a few brief dry words, Dr. Ailey explained where Mrs. Lydner's body had been found. In a heap on the rug beside the bed. In a heap, the rug thी beside the bed. To illustrate his account, he beckoned to me come forward. If you don't mind, nurse, he said. I'm not squeamish. I got down on the floor and arranged myself as far as possible in the attitude in which Mrs. Lydner's body had been found. Lydner lifted her head when he found her, said the doctor, but I questioned him closely and it's obvious that he didn't actually change her position. मतलब एकदम सुकड़ के बेड के साइड पे रख पे बैठी थी. लाइडनर ने उनका सर पकड़ा था पर वो उठी नहीं थी. It seems quite straightforward, said Pyro. She was lying on the bed asleep or resting. Someone opens the door, she looks up, rises to her feet. मतलब सो रही थी, किसी ने डोर ओपन किया और वो अपनी फीट पे राइज करती है. And he struck her down, finished the doctor. The blow could produce unconsciousness and death would follow very shortly. You see? और फिर उनके पीछे सर पे मारा, वो बेहोश हो गई और वो गिर गई. You see? He explained the injury in technical language. Not much blood then? No, the blood escaped internally. The blood इनके पीछे लगा, internally जो था वो brain में चला गया. Ah, brain said Pyro. That seems straightforward enough, except for one thing. If the man who entered was a stranger, why did not Mrs. Lydner cry at once for help? अम्मा, सुन रही हो? अगर जो आदमी अगर स्ट्रेंजर था तो मिसेस लाइडनर चिल्लाई क्यों नहीं? If she had screamed, she would have been heard. अगर चिल्लाती तो सुन लेते. Nurse Leithnan here would have heard her. And Emmett and the boy. Leithnan पढ़ लेती, Emmett and the boy पढ़ लेती. That's easily answered, said Dr. Ellie Didey. Because it wasn't a stranger. But a stranger नहीं था, तो इसलिए वो चलना ही नहीं. Poirot nodded. Yes, he said meditatively. May have been surprised to see the person, but she was not afraid. And then as he struck, she may have uttered a half cry too late. और जब उनके पीछे लगा तो उन्होंने एक हाफ क्राई दिया होगा थोड़ी सी लेट. अब मैं सुन लो मॉब. द क्राई मिस जॉनसन हर्ट. यस इफ शी डिड हियर इट. हो सकता है क्या हाफ क्राई हल्की सी आवाज. यस इफ शी डिड हियर इट. But on the whole, I doubt it. These mud walls are thick and the windows were closed. Windows closed and mud walls are thick or windows are closed. He stepped up on the bed. You left her actually lying down, he asked me. Explained exactly what I had done. Did she mean to sleep or was she going to read? वो सोना चाहती थी या पढ़ना चाहती थी? I gave her two books, a light one and a volume of memoirs. She usually read for a while and then sometimes dropped on for a short sleep. मतलब मिसेस लाइटला जो थी मम्मा दोपहर में अम्मा सुन लो वो थोड़ा पढ़ती थी और फिर जो थी फिर सो जाती थी. And she was what I say quite as usual. वो थी normal थी. I considered, yes. She seemed quite normal and in good spirits, I said. Just a shade offhand, perhaps, but I put that down to her having confided in me the day before. It makes people a little uncomfortable sometimes. ठीक है ना? Poirot's eyes twinkled. Ah, yes, indeed, me. I know that well. He looked around the room. And when he came in here after the murder, was everything as you had seen it before? जब तुम मर्डर के बाद आई तो वैसी ही थी. Around the room. I looked round also. Yes, I think so. I don't remember seeing anything different. There was no sign of the weapon which she was struck? No. Poirot looked at Dr. Riley. What's in your opinion? आपका opinion क्या Riley साहब का? Something pretty far powerful of a fair size and without any sharp corner or edges. कोई powerful अच्छा size उसका कोई corners नहीं थे edges नहीं थे. The rounded base of a statue says something like that. Mind you, I'm not suggesting that was it, but that type of thing. The blow was delivered with great force. Blow बड़ी तेजी से लगा था. Struck by a strong arm, a man's arm? Yes, unless what? Dr. Ailey said slowly. अम्मा सुन लो मम्मा ये मत करो माँ please. Dr. Ailey said slowly. It is just possible that Mrs. Leitner might have been on the knees, in which case the blow being delivered from above with heavy implement, the force needed would have not been so great. मतलब अगर मिसेस राइडनर नीज पे रही होंगी तो अगर उस इम्प्लीमेंट से आया होगा तो ज़्यादा फोर्स नहीं लगा होगा. On her knees, Muse Parrot, it's an idea there. It's only an idea, mind, the doctor hastened to point out. There's absolutely nothing to indicate it. But it's possible. Yes, and after all, in view of the circumstances, it's not fantastic. Her fear might have led her to kneel in supplication rather than to scream when her instinct would tell her it was too late and that nobody would get there in time. मतलब मिसेस राइडना जो थी हो सकता है बहुत डर गई हो तो वो नीस पे बेंड हो गई हो और फिर उसने उनको मार दिया. Yes, said Poirot thoughtfully, it's an idea. It was a very poor one, I thought. I couldn't for one moment imagine Mrs. Leitner on her knees to anyone. Poirot made his way slowly round the room. He opened the windows, tested the bars, passed his head through and satisfied that by no means could his shoulders be made to follow his head. ठीक है कि मतलब वो बाहर से जो था ना बाहर उसका हेड पे. The windows were shut when you found her, he said. Were they also shut when you left her at 1:45? Windows बंद थी ना जब तुम पाया था ना. विंडोज पूरी तरीके से बंद थी. Yes, they were always shut in the afternoon. हमेशा विंडोज जो है बंद की जाती हैं है ना. There is no gauze over these windows as there is in the living room and the dining room. तो विंडोज हमेशा बंद की जाती, कोई गेज नहीं है, कोई छलनी नहीं है. They were kept shut to keep out the flies. मतलब विंडोज बंद की जाती हैं ताकि कोई मक्खी वक्खी ना आए. And in any case, no one could get in that way, mused Pyro. And the walls are the most solid mud brick, and there are no trapdoors, no skylights. No, there is only one way into this room through the door. एक ही तरीके से आ सकते हैं डोर के थ्रू. Right. And there is only one way to the door through the courtyard. डोर में आ सकते हैं courtyard के through. And there is only one entrance to the courtyard through the archway. और उस courtyard का एक ही entrance है archway की तरफ. And outside the archway there were five people and they all tell the same story. And I do not think me that they are lying. No, they're not lying. They're not bribed to silence. The murderer was here. Murderer yahi tha. I didn't say anything. Hadn't I felt the same thing just now when we all cooped up round the table? Slowly Poirot prowled round the room. He took up a photograph from the chest of the drawers. It was of an elderly man with white goatee beard.
Hmm?
He looked inquiringly at me. Mrs. Leitner's father, I said. She told me so. एक मिसेस लाइडना ने अपने पिता की पिक्चर जो थी ना वो डाल रखी थी वाइट कोटी बियर्ड के साथ. He put it down again and glanced over the articles in the dressing table. All of plain tortoise shell, simple but good. He looked up at a row of books on a shelf, repeating the titles aloud. Who were the Greeks? Introduction to Relativity, Life of Lady Hester Stanhope, Crew Train, Back to Methuselah, Linda Condon. Yes, they tell us something perhaps. She, she was not a fool, your Mrs. Lydna. She had a mind. Mrs. Lydna बेवकूफ नहीं थी, उनका दिमाग था. Oh, she was a very clever woman, I said eagerly. Very well read and up in everything. She wasn't a bit ordinary. मतलब clever lady थी, हर चीज़ उसको पता थी. He smiled and looked out over at me. No, he said. I've already realized. किताबें जो थी तो मतलब अच्छा खासा पढ़ा लिखी थी. He passed on. He stood for some moments at the washstand where there was a big array of bottles and toilet creams. Then suddenly he dropped to his knees and examined the rug. Dr. Rayleigh and I quickly to join him. He was examining a small dark brown stain, almost invisible on the brown of the rug. उस रग के ब्राउन पे एक छोटा डार्क स्टेन जो था यह था. In fact, it was only noticeable when where it impressed on one of the white stripes. What do you say, doctor? He said. Is that blood? Dr. Rayleigh knelt down. Might be, he said. I'll make sure if you like. हाँ चेक कर लेते खून तो नहीं है ये. If you so could be amiable. Mr. Poirot examined the jug and the basin. The jug was standing on the side of the washstand. The basin was empty. But beside the washstand there was an old kerosene tin containing soap water. He turned to me. Do you remember, nurse, was this jug out of the basin or in it? ये बेसिन में था अंदर कि बाहर था? When you left Mrs. Leidner at 1:45. I can't be sure, I said after a minute too. I think it was standing in the basin. हो सकता है वो बेसिन में हो. Ah, but you see, I said hastily, I only think so because it usually was. The boys leave it like that after lunch. I just feel that if it hadn't been in, I should have noticed it. He nodded quite appreciatively. Yes, I understand that. It is your hospital training. If everything had not been just so in the room, you would quite unconsciously have it set it to rights, hardly noticing what you were doing. And after the murder, was it like this as now at this now? I shook my head. I didn't notice then, I said. All I looked for was whether there was any place anyone could have hidden or if there were anything the murderer had left behind him. It's blood, all right, said Dr. Rayleigh, rising from his knees. Is it important? Poirot was frowning perplexedly. He flung out his hands in petulance. I cannot tell. How can I tell? It may mean nothing at all. I can say, if I like that the murderer touched her, that there was blood on his hands, very little blood, but still blood. So he came here over here and washed them. Yes, it may have been like that, but I cannot jump to conclusions and say that it was so. That stain may be of no importance at all. हो सकता है उसने खून किया हो और जो स्टेन लगा हो फिर उसने वॉश बेसिन में साफ किया हो. There would have been very little blood, said Dr. Rayleigh dubiously. None would have sputtered out or anything light. It was just oozed a little from the wound. Of course, if he had probed it at all. I gave a shiver. A nasty sort of picture came in my mind. A vision of somebody, perhaps that nice pig-faced photographic boy, striking down on that lovely woman and then bending over her, probing the wound with his finger in an awful gloating fashion, and his face perhaps quite different, all fierce and mad. Dr. Rayleigh noticed my shiver. What's the matter, nurse? He said. Nothing. Just goose flesh, I said. A goose walking over my grave. Mr. Poirot turned around and looked at me. I know what you need, he said. Presently, when we have finished here and I go back to the doctor to the Hezena, we will take you with us. You will give Nurse Lutheran tea, will you not, doctor? Delighted. Oh no, doctor, I protested. I couldn't think of such a thing. Mr. Poirot gave me a little friendly tap on the shoulder. Quite an English tap, not a foreign. You must so you will do as you are told, he said. Besides, it will be an advantage to me. There is a good deal more that I want to discuss, and I cannot do it here where one must preserve decencies. The good Dr. Leidner, he worshipped his wife, and he also showed that everybody else felt the same about her. But that, in my opinion, would not be a human nature. No. We want to discuss Mrs. Leidner with, how do you say, the gloves removed. That is settled then. When we have finished here, we take you with us to Hasana. I suppose, I said doubtfully, that I ought to be leaving anyway. It's rather awkward. Do nothing for a day or two, said Dr. Rayleigh. You can't very well go until after the funeral. That's all very well, I said, and I supposing I get murdered too, doctor? I said half jokingly, and Dr. Rayleigh took it in the same fashion and would. I think I made some jocular response. But Monsieur Pyro, to my astonishment, took stock still in the middle of the floor and clasped his hands to his head. Ah, if that were possible, he murmured. It is a danger, yes, a great danger, but what can one do? How can one guard against it? Why, Monsieur Pyro, I said, I was only joking. Who'd want to murder me? I should like to know. You or another, he said, and I didn't like the way he said it at all, positively creepy. But why? I persisted. He looked at me very straight then. I joke, mademoiselle, he said, and I laugh. But there are certain things that are no joke. There are things that my profession has taught me, and one of these things, the most terrible things, is this: murder is a habit. अब तुम अच्छी किताब मिस कर रही हो.
मजा आ रहा है.